Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan battle video. In this video we're going to take a look at the TEQ Janemba modified and see just how good he is after his Dokkan awakening in DBZ Dokkan battle and get a feeling basically for just how good he can be. Now I have this Janemba technically with a dupe, but I'm going to be running him at 55%. I think Janemba is one of those units when everything lines up, he can look really good. He is a crossovers lead, which, isn't too important. But what is important is that he raises attack and defense on his super attack for up to 3 turns at a time by 30%. He also lowers the opposition's attack and defense as well. The big thing with him is his ability to guard for the first 5 turns. This allows him to set himself up. He gains attack and defense per crossover category per ally on the team. He gets attack every time he attacks, and he gets defense every time he defends. After he has received a certain number of attacks or has fired off a certain number of attacks, he will gain the chance to greatly crit. Now in terms of build, I personally think a full additional build is best. Not only does it allow you to get to the threshold for critting faster and then makes advantage of the crits, but it also allows you to maintain extra stacks of his attack and defense stacking, and I think this is crucial to how he functions. In terms of his link set, he actually has a very strong Janemba style link set, so he's got things like Big Bad Bosses, Fear and Faith, Metamorphosis, etc. And I think him having this strong link set is very good. I think he's got quite a few key links, Shocking Speed, Challenge the Limit, Fear and Faith. And he's got quite a few strong links, Metamorphosis and Big Bad Bosses. I think overall when I look at Janemba, I feel like I'm watching a unit that when everything comes right, can honestly, look, how can I say it? I don't want to say like absolutely everything needs to come right, but when you get like an extra attack, when you get hit nice and early on, then he just tends to really ramp himself up super quickly. And with the dupe, he's the kind of unit that can get to like 600, 700, even 800k raw defense, and that's very impressive. Like, we're talking starter turn raw defense, we're talking with dupe 7-8 million attack stats. I mean, you can see here as you watch him progress through, he really does build up quite nicely over time. The big thing is him getting hit early on. Ideally, you'd want him to take the required number of attacks a lot earlier on in the fights. So, the longer he stays out in the cold, the longer he doesn't get hit, he doesn't build up those defensive stacks, it does cause him some slight issues. But realistically speaking, as long as you can get some of those hits on you early on, Janemba tends to be great defensively. He is of course just raw defense, so even though he can with dupes hit really impressive defensive numbers like 700, 800,000 defense, obviously raw defense does have its limits, but for the most part he tanks normal attacks pretty much in every situation. He's just very good like that, and he has a lot of value when it comes to assessing how good he can be that way. Now of course his attack stats are also pretty good, but like I said, because his passive eventually adds crit in, it's just a lot easier for him to get hit a couple times or to have additional super attacks and get to that threshold a lot sooner. In harder content he will get hit early on. The big thing is he will also take damage early on. The one thing protecting him is the guard, and I think at the end of the day that is something that is quite crucial to how he functions as a unit. It's what essentially allows you to place him in harm's way and just kind of build up his stacks in terms of attack and defense. I think for me, looking at Janemba, I think he's a pretty solid unit. I do think he's a little bit tied down to crossover / DB Heroes teams, as most of the DB Heroes and crossover units are, because obviously he does have the requirement to have, crossover based characters to access attack and defense for his passive. So it's not like he can just avoid being on teams with them. In terms of link set, like I mentioned before, Your main priority is always going to be big bad bosses, but you do have some interesting links here that you can see we got with units like, Deborah, and just in general you can get from pretty decent villain teams. A big thing is obviously that requirement to have crossover, but you should be more than fine. I think overall he's just very, very good, very consistent, and he's the kind of unit that is good enough to be a mainstay of the heroes team. I think right now, as long as you have the requirement, or as long as his defense remains in a really good raw threshold, then I think he's in a very, very good position. I think his link set also keeps him safe, and I think overall he's just a very, very good unit. Me personally, I'm very glad to have him, and I think he'll definitely come in handy. He does link up obviously pretty well with other kind of villains units, and he doesn't really cater towards the super side of things. But yeah, I think overall he's a lot of fun. He's got some decent linking partners, and I think at the end of the day you should be pretty good to enjoy him and have a lot of fun with him and use him in some really difficult content. So if you have Janemba and haven't thought about awakening him or working on him, I highly suggest you do, because he's just really, really awesome. But that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, bye.